we get an opportunity sometimes. That's what I tell myself every morning as we sat out and plan out the agenda for the day, to try to see the wood from the trees. Because it would be rather naive for professional journalists, news organizations. We are not a WhatsApp forward community. We are not an Instagram double tap community. We are not some Twitter community. We are professional journalists. We work for a TV channel, run and operate in a major network. And seeing the wood from the trees is my job. That's what I should be bringing to you. Now, let's get a reality check, and that's what this telecast is about. Because as we speak, there is a conversation going on all over the world about India. So let's put on our screens what that conversation is about. The number one topic in this country and for conversation abroad is that there is chaos and disaster in Punjab. Things are falling apart in that state. Number two point of conversation is that Rahul Gandhi, former Congress president, veteran of the Nehru-Gandhi family, look, he's been disqualified from parliament. Some death of democracy is taking place. As far away as California, there's a Congress person by the name of Ro Khanna, who's very upset and hassled about this. So the entire world seems to be convinced that this is what's happening in India. That's it. Now, we are not going to struggle in this conversation today to let pictures speak 1,000 words. We will not struggle. We will actually put them on your screens. Because what you will see on your screens, photographs, visuals, are also what is happening in India. So let us do away completely with our desperate struggle in not being able to visualize by putting on your screens the photographs, the visuals that also tell a story about this country. I have a colleague by the name of Shashank who sits in PCR. I have two colleagues by the name of Gauri and Siddharth who have been putting together these visuals. They're going to put them on your screens, and I'll do a reference to context. And here is the reference to context. When Ro Khanna is talking about Rahul Gandhi being disqualified and somebody is saying, oh my God, your grandfather served Indira. First of all, his name is Rohit. They call him Ro because the Americans struggle with Rohit. So he's had to change his name. For some reason, he and his family left the country. He is an American citizen. He's an American state congressperson. He's sworn to serve the people of California. He's not sworn to serve the people of Punjab, from where his ancestors hail. Now he's welcome to give up his citizenship and come and build the highways and the projects and the flyovers. But he doesn't do that, no? He's in America. He's an American. But he's very worried about what's happening in this country. There are many others in Australia, in the US, in Canada, in the UK, in the EU, very, very hassled about developments in Punjab. Now, I was born in 1985, the year that Congressperson Ro Khanna's grandfather unfortunately passed away. I was born a year after, about 8-9 months after the tragic events that happened in 1984. Since then, in my lifetime, there has been no crisis in Punjab. Today, you can go to Chandigarh. We are doing massive conclave there today as we speak. Ludhiana, Jalandhar, Amritsar. There's no crisis. But globally, that's the crisis. Now, what they don't want to talk about is something that I am today going to talk about. is something that honestly, very recently, even I didn't understand. It was an announcement. It was called Gati Shakti. Gati, speed, Shakti, power. The power of speed, the speed of power. So one day I had to sit down and try to understand what this was. Now, when I run a news channel here, there is a PCR crew, and then there is a camera crew behind the camera there, and there's an output department, an input department, and graphics department, and camera department, and logistics department, and just like that, government has all sorts of departments. Now, very near my office, there is the most utilized crossing in India. It's called Ashram Chowk. Maximum number of cars in the country daily go from this chowk. Now, for the past 1 month, they built a flyover. But because the electric department has not sufficiently moved the high tension cables, that flyover cannot be used by heavy vehicles. So, for 1 month, the jams have continued. That is various departments not being able to work with each other. So, Gati Shakti was, I'm told, meant to change this. Okay. So, we're going to make an effort now to one by one put out photographs of our screens, not generic ones like this, one by one, put out some photographs of our screens of what has just been done in the past few days. In the last few hours, Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has been in Jammu and Kashmir. He's been doing the inaugural puja for India's first cable-stayed railway bridge. It's the highest bridge in the country over the river Chenab. It's a sight to behold. It's being put on the Baramulla-Srinagar railway line, which is being opened thanks to this bridge. And soon that railway line will connect via Pathankot with the rest of India. Yesterday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Bengaluru inaugurating the metro in that city. There's a Vande Bharat Express that is now being promised for J&K. In just the past few days, the Mysuru-Bangalore highway has been inaugurated. The highway connecting Jaipur to Delhi, which has cut down travel time by 40-50%, has been inaugurated. Airports are being inaugurated. Railway stations are being inaugurated. There's a new airport coming up, again very close to where I am. Delhi, national capital, is going to get its second airport. It's going to be ready in a few months. This is happening simultaneously. Now, reality becomes perception. So the perception we have built that this country of ours, just petty politics, dramabazi, nautanki, crisis, secessionism, that's all that happens. Just like we build a perception that news channels, they just shout and scream and do drama and don't tell the story of India. Well, I'm trying to tell you the story of India right here. This is not New York. This is not California. This is not Switzerland. This is the country. Just let's look out of our windows and check this out. This is not 5 years ago. This is not 5 years from now. This is today, yesterday. I mean, look at Ashwini Vaishnav. Look at this bridge, which has just been built. It's a game changer for strategic reasons, for tourism reasons, for the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh. Look at this. Highest railway bridge in the world. For 80 years, we kept thanking the British that, oh my God, you built our railway infrastructure. Please, thank you so much. Doesn't make a difference. You looted us and killed millions in famines. But you built a railway infrastructure, guys. Oh my God, Peri Pena. God save the Queen. God save the King. Guess what we just did? Okay. So this requires some perception and context. So let me open up this conversation now. Joining us on the broadcast is Abhijit Sinha. Dikshu Kukreja, one of the most eminent architects who's been showcasing the story of India globally, is with us. Gautam Mukherjee is with us, and Joyita Basu also is with us. So let me start with some perspective from Joyita. Joyita, now perception matters, right? And you're a professional journalist. You're supposed to be telling the story of India as you see it. You're not a YouTuber, content creator, Twitter person, WhatsApp university forwarder, okay? Now, why is the entire world talking about Ro Khanna and all these people in Australia, Canada, UK, that we are going through death and devastation? Why doesn't nobody want to tell the India story?
Well, Rishabh, I think it works at different levels. First of all, there is a bias. Colonial mindset. There's a bias against India, and what these stories, when you keep talking about the India is imploding or exploding, if you can have it, it serves as a confirmation bias for them. It feeds their confirmation bias that we are the country exactly what Churchill predicted we are going to turn out like, a failed state. So if you're looking at, special people like Ro Khanna and, the kind of media narrative that you see in the Western press, the kind of Twitter talk that happens on social media, when you see all these democracy index and all that, a country like India, where with such a huge population and which is supposedly which is being torn apart by communalism and all, we are bound to fail. So you see, that is the reason why our success story does not get told. It is only once in a while. Say, for example, I saw something in Wall Street Journal. Maybe in 6 months they will print one article. Maybe New York Times will print one article. I saw one article on UPI. I think that must have been in over one kind of positive article. That would have come in maybe about 5 years.
Okay. It's the bridge, ladies and gentlemen, this arch cable stayed bridge. I mean, it's the technicalities I'm sure Dikshu will go into with me. Okay, it's a thing of beauty. My colleague Ajay Jandial was there this morning at the inauguration, and it's at a dizzying height, the world's highest railway bridge. Okay, now I'm just going to read you out something, and we're going to follow this up with visuals because you don't have to believe me, you can see it for yourself, right? This is the past 1 month, just the past 1 month, and I want to come to Dikshu and our other guests. So in the past 1 month, the Shivamoga Airport completed, Bengaluru Suburban Railway Project completed, Mysore-Chennai High-Speed Rail Corridor completed, Kempegowda International Airport Phase 2 completed, Bengaluru-Chennai Expressway almost complete, Hassan Airport completed, Vijaypura Airport, Hubali Junction Railway Station, Bengaluru-Pune Expressway, Bengaluru-Mysore Expressway, Vande Bharat in Mumbai, and 6 of them have been launched in the past 1 month. The new metro line at an estimated cost of 16,000 crore in Bengaluru, and what I have just shown you, the first cable bridge, state bridge in Chennai. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the past 1 month. Okay. Now, Dikshu Kukreja, I was trying to recently remodel my kitchen, and I promise you it took me 4.5 months. And by the time now the last of the modeling is finishing, they're getting it done. You've handled large scale projects, okay? You know exactly how complicated it can be getting, the vendors and the suppliers and the designers and the permissions and the paperwork, getting it sorted. To build a highway, a metro line, a cable stayed bridge in months, not decades. What is the pace of operation required, Dikshu?
So thank you so much, Rishabh, and it's a very encouraging introduction you have given. And really, one thing I would say is that you're talking about Gati Shakti. I think they should actually go ahead and rename it and call it Ati Gati Shakti, because the fact is that the country is blossoming, the country is transforming at a pace we have never seen before. And obviously, that's going to give to some jitters around the world. But I don't think we should really pay much heed to their concerns. We should keep marching along. At the same time, I do wish to express my anguish at your remodeling of your kitchen, and I wish you the very best. But coming back to the pace and the transformation that is happening in India, I think the infrastructure, I would just simply put it at where there's a will, there's a way. Technology is at the press of our buttons in within our control and within our domain. I think there has always been this sort of, we have questioned our own abilities in the past, and that's where we have stuttered and sometimes not been able to achieve our goals. Today, I see that the best of construction technologies and the best of materials are all there in India. And what is happening here, there is a certain kind of commitment that I see. We have meetings, really, I'm doing projects, yes, as you mentioned, across the country. And sometimes I have seen meetings running with government officials and their departments past midnight. We have meetings going on in our office and on Zoom past midnight because there's a determination that, when a project has been announced, its end date also has to be respected. Not just lay the foundation stone and then forget about it, but make sure that it's delivered and delivered on time. So I think that's what is happening, and that's what Gati Shakti is all about, also being able to monitor these large infrastructure projects. Obviously, they have their challenges. Obviously, surprises keep coming in the way when you're developing something, for example, for the G20 summit, when we are doing the world's largest LED facade or Delhi's tallest building, etc., etc., there will be challenges because you're chartering unknown territories. But that doesn't mean that you just sit back and then wait for somebody else to come and solve the problem for you.
No, things are becoming unrecognizable. I've lived in Delhi all my life, and I was going to the airport just the other day, and every time I head in that direction, the routes have changed. Something different has happened. I remember going for a holiday. I mentioned this on TV before. I was heading towards Chandigarh, which I'm told, of course, Punjab is in desperate times. It's not. From my house, the first red light I had to stop in was in Karnal. My house to Karnal was red light free. And I thought the highways were brilliant. I took a train through Punjab recently, and a normal Shatabdi, not even the Vande Bharat, which travels at 150, 160, was traveling at 130. I had a GPS clock on my phone. I was watching the train at night going at 130 kmph. I would struggle to drive. It would probably be unsafe to drive at 130, 140 kmph, how far the normal Shatabdi was going. And I made it from, Ludhiana to Delhi, 3.5 hours. Couldn't drive that fast. Now, I was mentioning this bridge. So this is the Arch Bridge, ladies and gentlemen. Let me qualify myself. So the one in the Chenab River, which is the highest bridge, is the Arch Bridge. There's another bridge at the Anji River. Can we get a photograph of this also, please, on our screens? Anji River Bridge, please. This is India's first cable-stayed bridge. I'm seeing the photograph in front of me. You can Google it yourselves. It's beautiful. As an architect, I'm sure Dikshu will appreciate this, the artistry of it, forget the engineering and the practicality of it. Let me get Abhijit Sinha into this conversation. Abhijit ji, after having, I'm sure, lived in this country all the time, just waiting for things to happen, all great grand dreams, but, translating them in hopes, even during the time of, Atal Vajpayee, when we were talking about the Golden Quadrilateral, we had these great dreams and aspirations. I remember Commonwealth Games, the first metro was launched in Delhi. Now they are there in every town and city. Getting things done and delivered, what kind of a different orbit are we now in?
I think I will continue with the notion what Mr. Dakshit said is when we are starting something, we are starting with an intent. And when intent is very clear, then the two very next thing that we need to set is the content and then the extent. The content used to be very difficult to set in previous regimes because there are a lot of frills and fancies which someone has to pass. Bureaucracy is one of them. Difficulty of doing business is one of them. Technology, its adoptions, its piloting, and then procurement. There's a long list. This government, with this intent, content, and extent, has very well upholded the agenda of our Prime Minister of reform, perform, and transform. So wherever there was a problem in maybe procurement process or maybe in land acquisition, or then you have to award tenders. So all these processes has evolved due to structural reform, which government has done in last 6, 7, 8 years. But these reforms, when they were happening, or right now also, if you see some new state coming with new promising projects, we do not quickly translate it into what intent is behind it. We usually debate on the television, we bring the out of context thing in the more heat that this is happening because of this, or maybe it's some ulterior agenda behind it. But once projects start getting delivered, then we come back. And I congratulate that very few channel like you who managed to see through that how it has happened, it has possible. Delhi Dosa, the Gurgaon Dosa highway, which was recently opened by our Prime Minister, has been ready in 2 years. Can you imagine 2 years, half of the year? 1 year land acquisition is a nightmare. It used to be a nightmare for last within 1 year 200-kilometer procurement and then tendering award, and then the work also happened within. It's like a magic if you go back in 7-8 years that a 200-kilometer highway can be made ready into for 24
Yeah, but
months.
this is because this is, Abhijit ji, the reason I've just taken a pause for the cause is because obviously, that tomorrow, Parliament will restart and the politics will continue, and that's all it'll seem that's all that's happening in the country. Is that a project inaugural, not a foundation laying, not a promise, completed, is happening on a day-to-day basis. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Delhi to Chandigarh on the Vande Bharat Express is now 2.5 hours. At some 700 rupees is the ticket price. 2.5 hours. For the life of me, I don't care what Mercedes you buy, you can't drive that fast. Meerut in 45 minutes, somebody I know just went to Haridwar under 4 hours. You go Meerut Expressway, then Roorkee bypass, the entire highway in Haridwar has been done. You can make it all the way to Rishikesh in 4 hours. This is unimaginable. Now, I don't know, I'm not yet traveled on the Dosa. I've covered the inauguration. But if you can
2
make
hours.
it to Jaipur in 4 hours or whatever, under 4 hours, it'll be a mindset game changer change. Let me get Gautam Mukherjee in this. Gautam Mukherjee.
Now it's 2 hours only.
Yeah, 2 hours. I mean, last time I traveled to Jaipur, it was closer to 6. If you don't take a break, maybe 5. Okay, so 2.5 hours would be unimaginable. Gautam Mukherjee, the transition from laying a foundation stone, which is all well and good, okay, it's a promise, to every day something is being inaugurated. Here's a Vande Bharat Express. Here's this bridge done. Here's another highway. North, south, east, northeast, J&K, everywhere. Has a pulse changed, or am I just imagining it?
Imagining it, and it is the consequence of a strategy established in 2014.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt just for a second. Can you blow up this image, please? I'll just come back. Just blow up. This is the Anji Bridge, ladies and gentlemen. This is on the river Anji. I'll just blow up this. Gautam Mukherjee, continue your thought.
Yeah, ever since 2014, what happened when this government came in and upset the apple cart on what has been going on for over 5 decades, certainly, and 10 years more of transition, if you like, is that the private sector didn't invest anymore. They waited on they lifted their hands and sat on them and waited to see what would happen next. So the government ramped up infrastructure, and that is what has given us consistent growth over the years since 2014, followed by consumption, because we are a large country and consumption is a very important part of it. Our domestic consumption is massive. Now, with this, we can clearly see what you've been saying so far, what the other panelists have said so far, shows that this is proof positive that we will overtake all the Western European economies and Japan in as little as 5 to 7 years. Now, this will happen on the one hand, and on the other, all that has changed and has resulted in detritus and debris everywhere of the former regime. They are making a lot of negative noise here and via their friends abroad, and those who would like to slow down India or harm it or break it up, they're active too. But this is relentless. It's like the Jagannath. It is on its way, and nobody can stop it because it is built on infrastructure, implementation, delivery on time, before time, on cost, and things of that order. And the knock-on effect it has on the economy is equally profound.
Okay, like I said, the pictures always tell the story better, so you don't have to listen to me, you can just see it. So this is the Anji Khad Bridge, okay? It's a very small rivulet. Let's face it, none of us had heard about it till this day, okay? And this is the country's first cable-stayed rail bridge. Just a single pylon, which you can see, cables on both sides. It's almost ready. Yeah, as you can see, it's almost ready. They're just waiting for safety testing before they inaugurated this as well. The other bridge, of course, which Ashwini Vaishnav was doing the puja for this morning, that's the Arch Bridge over the river Chenab. That bridge, ladies and gentlemen, is 1,200 feet above the valley floor, spanning the Chenab. 1,200 feet above. And they started putting in the pylons in 2017, 2018. It's taken them 5 years to build the world's highest rail bridge. It's good to go. We're going to put out the others also one by one on our screens. Let me get Dikshu back in. Dikshu Kukreja, now there is a transition when we think that the infrastructure projects only happen in the places that are familiar to you and me, that the first metro is in Delhi, the first CNG bus is in Delhi, okay, the maximum number of flyovers are built in Delhi or in Bombay. The best airport in the country is, of course, in the national capital. We're not talking about the metropolises anymore. We're talking about far-flung areas. There's a Trans-Arunachal Highway being built. This is Baramulla where these bridges are being built. It is becoming ubiquitous across the country, Northeast, J&Ks, South of India. What is then changing in our outlook when it comes to grand infrastructure?
So I think you're absolutely right that the infrastructure projects that one sees today are spanning across the length and breadth of the country, which is the way it should always be. But I see a greater ramification of it, and in fact, a far more positive one, which is to do with the overall quality and future of our cities. So far, when the focus was only on those half a dozen big cities of India, what it led to also was that they became the centers of gravity or cities of opportunity, leading to problems like urban migration. Today, when you are taking these opportunities across the country, and we have our transforming Northeast India to everywhere else in different parts of the country, this is going to also create a more sustainable and balanced development, because you cannot expect people to be migrating only to these handful of cities, a country of 1.4 billion people just centered in these 5 or 6 or 8 cities. So with this kind of infrastructure investment and development, what that leads to is that people find opportunities in their own local areas or across the length and breadth of the country. And this is going to even have a greater ramification, I think, at a global scale, where you will see that that India, which I believe is the cynosure of eyes across the world, is also going to be seen as a land of opportunity, not just in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, but different parts of the country will be offering different.
Okay, on our screen now, this is the Arch Bridge. This is the Chenab Bridge. Okay, you're watching it. This is when it was under construction. That's the arch. You can just see that the linchpin of the arch, the very top of the arch, is not yet put in this photograph. Then of course they've completed this bridge. Look at this. Look at the terrain in which this has been built. It's quite amazing. So let me get before I come back to Abhijit, let me get Gautam Mukherjee into this conversation back. Gautam Mukherjee, I was speaking to someone who's lived near Varanasi, not in Varanasi, near Varanasi. Now there was a time that from Benares to reach the nearest airport, it took 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours by car. They built a new expressway, 20 minutes. All right. Now what this gentleman was telling me, that he comes from a village near there. They make some sweet meats or some kind of sweets. It used to take 12 hours for them to get from the village to Varanasi. Now it takes 3 hours. So it has become feasible for them to actually cook a batch in the morning, leave at about 7 a.m. By 10 a.m. set up a stall in Varanasi, which of course is a tourist district. It's a game changer. We're not talking about a small change. It's the person's lives and livelihoods would have changed, and they no longer have to shift to the nearest city, as Dikshu was pointing out. They can travel there. I know people who now do Delhi Meerut for lunch, because it is possible. It's something dramatic is happening, which maybe I don't think we sort of feel the pulse of it yet.
Well, anybody who steps out of Delhi in any direction by air or by road can feel it. It is, and if you compare it with a decade or 2 decades ago, it is completely and utterly changed. And not only that, I mean, I came back to India in 1987. Until 1997, they were still building the Delhi-Chandigarh highway. And it was still, diversions here, diversions there. Till another decade went by, I think, before it actually got done, just from Delhi to Chandigarh that you keep talking about. Now look at it. Now you do a 200-kilometer stretch in a matter of 2 years. So, the equipment has changed, the mindset has changed, the financing has changed, the project management has changed, the attitude has changed. It is no longer the mindset of a poor country.
No, but all of it, Gautam Mukherjee, was so obvious. So I've interviewed Nitin Gadkari several times over this. Okay, I've interviewed now General VK Singh just hardly 10, 12 days ago, and I was asking them the basic question. I think somebody mentioned land acquisition on this. Now, the answer is, if you go to a rural area and do greenfield land acquisition, if you give the person better or equal to market rates, why won't they sell? Then you tell them that once we build the highway, the first 300, 400, 500 meters parallel to the highway, you can open it up without having to change land use, and you can build yourself a restaurant, or you can build yourself a dhaba, or you can build yourself a motel or a petrol station. They will happily do it, which is why no protests have taken place. Do you remember a time when politics was about land acquisition protests? What happened to those times? And no new laws have come. It's just market economics has taken place. So let me get Abhijit Sinha on this. Abhijit, this is the major thing, that there's been a small logic change, that instead of giving the worst price possible to the person who's giving up their lands, give them the best price possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I told you there has to be intent, which was proven before, but content was supposed to be developed. And now, since content is developed, what kind of law, relaxation, reform, or some type of tweaking in the law is required to give people confidence that they're giving land and it is going to be good for them also and good for government also. But one part which is negative in the ecosystem, which we need to see as a country, is who is the enemy of infrastructure project? Delay is the enemy of infrastructure project. And whenever delay happens, whenever something comes up, like in 2014, when we started investigating all those NGOs who were filing PIL on these large infrastructure projects, most of them, they were found funded by foreign countries.
Remember there's a PIL just been recently filed that we can't build border roads in Uttarakhand because we need them to defend against Chinese. I've done a video on what the Chinese have done to Tibet. Okay? You should watch that video. These things happen.
Finish
your thought, yes.
That negativity of when we are doing some infrastructure project, we are having friends with foreign countries. And these foreign countries, be it Vande Bharat train or an infrastructure highway or a bridge, which you've shown on the screen, we may have as a country foreign collaboration.
Okay, now on your screens, with the foreign, the Zurich airport guys are building this airport. It's not just an airport; it's an integrated hub. These are terminologies that honestly, Gati Shakti was a terminal. I didn't get it. Honestly, I didn't understand what it meant. I had to educate myself on what it meant. It's just that all the government departments work together. I honestly spent a large amount of my day getting my various departments to work together, the technical guys and the guys who are the journalists to work together, and the IT people. Joyita will quietly smile on this. So let me leave the last word with you, Joyita, before I take this break. On your screens right now, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the Zojila tunnel now looks like from the outside. This is not Switzerland. It's not Europe.
Wow.
This is right here. It's built by us, completed just a few months ago. And the greenery around it has been restored. Look at it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely
Just
gorgeous.
imagine that if the project would have delayed.
Okay,
So that's
Joyita, okay, last word now. So how do we then tell this story also better with a world that is obsessed by convincing itself that India is still where it was in 1947?
Not just where it was. I mean, they're basically convinced that India is a failed state. And it's only now. So, you see, one of the reasons why this sort of a narrative is going on is because this government in particular, while it is very good at implementing projects and all that, so what happens is that their communication is very bad. When it comes to the outside world, it's absolutely the pits. They think that people will realize on their own that India is, what India is achieving. It does not work like that. You see, that is the reason why channels like NewsX, newspapers like Sunday Guardian, and there are many other media outlets who we are the ones we have to tell the story. But the problem is that inside our own country, there is a section that will try to put us down by calling us all sorts of names, by calling us stooges
I promise you, and I'm going to end the telecast. I'm way out. I think Abhijit wants to make a point. So quickly, 10 seconds. I'm way out of time. I need to
quickly. And I just want to second the thought of what she said. Is when we are saying that there is a difficulty within us, this difficulty should not reflect the way it has reflected in the past. When we were having our US president visiting India, Mr. Trump, we were having Delhi right. Right now, when G20 is going on and we are shining, we are having a couple of problems which are politically showing a different type of notion. Whatever we develop in infrastructure, whoever rule tomorrow or whoever get elected, it is regardless of that, India should sign.
Okay. So I'm going to leave it on this thought. Okay. I remember I lost my grandfather a few years ago. He was a civil servant. So when the metro in Delhi came up, I remember just taking him for a metro ride, not because we had to go somewhere. I wanted to experience it. He traveled all over the world during his tenure, just to experience it. That this is it. This is your own country. This is not Canada or or London. So have a look at this. This is the Zojila channel from inside. Okay. So my recommendation to you would be, people like me, I'd given up on trains in this country. Okay. Now if I think Chandigarh, I'm thinking Vande Bharat, 2.5 hours, $700. I'm there in comfort. Okay. It's changed. So just get out of your homes, look left, look right, and experience this. And maybe a self-realization and a second, I hate to use this terminology, but a second mental independence is going to come our way, which is a huge deal. And would love to request Rohit Khanna, sitting in California. Sir, while you're busy trying to arrest Trump and this and that, why don't you build some more highways in California, build more solar parks, figure this out, figure out why your big banks in Silicon Valley are collapsing. Why don't you focus on that? Let us run our country. Your family chose to leave. So why don't you focus on that?
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.